right, here we go. Okay.
Start off.
Yeah, go ahead. What are you going to
Well-
talk about this time?
Well, I'm going to tell you a story about when I wrestled a bear, and I was going to school in Mississippi. And
How old were you?
Well, I think by that time I was 19. I was 20 years old, and so when they took us down to Forest, Mississippi, to a county fair, to see something special there, whatever it was. They took a whole busload of us down there from Decatur, Mississippi.
Uh-huh.
And well, when we got down there, we saw whatever we took to. Then they said, "Well, you can go ahead and see the rest of the fair." Well, I looked over there, and there was a bear sitting on a platform with a man hollering with a horn, you know. And anybody that wrestled a bear, I'd give him $5. And so, you know, that got my attention. Well, the bear that was sitting there looked about 3 feet high and just squatting down there on the platform. And then I thought, well, I can throw that bear. He's not that big a bear, so for $5, I can throw him. So I went over there, and I got up on the platform, and I started hollering like Tarzan and everything, and beating my chest and holding my arms and yelling. Well, actually, I was trying to get up a crowd because he had told me, if you don't throw the bear, then I can give you 10% of the gate receipt. And so I said, well, I'll get a big crowd. So I hollered and hollered, and also everybody was coming up. Well, the whole busload from school had come up, so they were all over there. So I got a pretty big crowd. Anyhow, and as it turned out, it was 63 people went in. Well, it was 10 cents a piece, so the 63 cents that wasn't much of an enticement to wrestle a bear. So I was after the $5. So we got in there, and they put a big jacket over me, and the jacket had something right over here sticking out about 2 or 3 inches and everything, and then they put a helmet over. Well, I thought, well, it's all bundled up like that, but this thing just gave the bear time that he could, turned out when he stood up on the thing, he was about a foot taller than I was, you know, big, tall thing.
How much he weigh?
And they said he weighed 350 pounds, so I said, well, when he got that thing right there, he got his mouth on my jacket there, and then he hit me in the back, and my feet went out from under me because he had it anchored right there on his mouth. Well, then I got the jacket off because it wouldn't give him a chance to grab me anymore. And so then he hit me on the side of the head, and then I took the helmet off, and then I said, well, I got him now. And I got under his legs and was pushing him out, pushing him over. And the man had a chain around his collar, and he kept pulling the bear over me. And I was under his legs. I had gotten under his legs and tackled him. I had him around, my arms around him, and was pushing him out of the tent. And because I was in shape playing football, and pushing him out of the tent, and he kept pulling me back over. And one time I pushed him up against the crowd, and the chain that separated us from the crowd, it fell down, and the post fell down, but the man kept pulling the bear over me. And the only 3 times that I got my shoulder under his arms, under his paws there, and he couldn't do anything because he couldn't bite me, you know, that low, and as low as I was pushing him. So finally, back and forth we went for a long time, and then all of a sudden, the crowd kept hollering, you know, thinking, well, I've got the bear, but they did complain about the man pulling the chain, pulling the bear over me, you know, getting me between him and the bear and pulling me back when I pushed the bear out, you know, kind of out of the tent or over the chains. And finally, the bear got me down and just pinned me down to the ground, and he didn't sit on me, but he just fell on me. And there, the only thing I could move was my feet. He had my arm pinned under me, not under me, but he had pinned on top of me like that, and he was just lying on me. and heavy, heavy, heavy. And finally, the man saw that I could do anything but just move my feet. And then, by that time, I was tired because I had pushed him and wrestled and done the bear around. And then the man gave me, he had torn my shirt off, including in the back of it, and torn the undershirt off to the skin there with his claws. And then the man, after he got up and everything, and I brushed myself off because the ground, he had sawdust on the ground. And then the man gave me the 63 cents, that was 10% of the gate receipt. And he gave me a walking stick because by that time I was kind of limping, you know, because I'd hurt the muscle on my right leg or something where he threw me down to the ground so hard. So then, but I really got a ribbon from the boys going back home, and plus all the next week they were talking about me wrestling a bear and having to use a walking stick, but getting only 63 cents. And so Bertie was going to school at Montebello then, and one of the boys that was playing football there was from Montebello, and I went home with him that weekend. And he walked in, I told Bertie, well, I was coming home with this boy, and you know, I could go see her in the dormitory. So when they introduced me to his mother, he said, "Mother, this is the man that wrestled the bear." And then she said, and he says, "And you brought him home?" And you brought him home with you. But it was a nice thing for her to say, but she was so surprised. And she said, "And you brought him home with you?" But I took a kidding from the others from the school about me wrestling him. They said, "Well, you want to wrestle the bear again? How bad do you want 63 cents? And it wasn't a 63, I just wanted, thinking I could throw the bear. But the fact that he looked so small, sitting down on that, squatting down on that platform, and then when he stood up, the fact that he was taller, I'd say 10 inches, a foot taller than I was, and his arms were like steel, you couldn't imagine how heavy, hard that his arms
Now,
were.
he hit you a few times.
But he hit me so hard in the back. But when he anchored this up here, and then he hit me in the back, my feet, of course, went out from under because he had it anchored up here. But then he couldn't anchor it anymore. So at one time he tried to grab me here and push me up against it, but he never did knock me down like he did the first time, you know, where he threw it. But he did tear my shirt off and my undershirt.
How much did the shirt cost back then?
Well, about 50 cents. Actually, if you got a good one, it may cost 60 to 75 cents. But you was out 50 cents and you only made 63 cents. So, but you was out of undershirt too because he had torn that in the back. He torn it out about 10 to 15 inches, so just tore it off. But because I could see the part of the undershirt down on the ground there, so I know he had the claws in there. Well, that's the story of the bear, but I got a lot of kidding about that bear, and not much money.
Not much money.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
But I remember the story about Bear Bryant wrestling the bear, and he got the name Bear Bryant because he wrestled the bear. But he never threw the bear either.
Yeah.
And but the bear didn't throw him as hard as he had thrown me. But I'm not sure it was the same bear. But it was a trained, well